Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again to the WCS Jönköping. Quite a lot of things happening here in this big, wonderful venue outside of StarCraft. So many cool things. One of the biggest digital celebrations of gaming in the world. Welcome to Sweden. We have passed the halfway point. We have been moving forward at a nice brisk pace. I am Nathanius, hosting your desk for the weekend. Joining me are my two favorite trolls, Rotterdam and In Control. It's right there in the name, boys. Solid match we got coming up.
Yep, very exciting. We're about to wrap up that second group stage, so just a small update about the game. We just saw good news for our toasters. Ziggy was able to close that series out. He won 2-1. Sad news for my buddy Space Marine, or well, now known as Kebab King. But he's gonna have
King.
Yeah, but he's gonna have one more shot against Bly, who he actually already defeated. A couple of interesting results in his second group stage. Like, I don't think many people expected Bly to lose in that group, or perhaps to even go out.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We do have our next match ready, so we're going to go straight over to Sue, who's going to give us a little bit more details. I heard we have a very handsome gentleman getting ready to play in this next series.
You say we have a handsome gentleman. Curious which one you're referring to. So, of course, our next match is Stephano versus Lillekanin. So, Nate, which one who do you think is more handsome?
Well, Todd showed me how
They're both
amazing
listening, by the way.
Frenchman can be, so...
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Stephano versus Lillekanin. Now, Stephano, as we all know, was a legend in his own right, but I'm curious, which Stephano are we going to see today? What do you reckon?
Well, hopefully it's the Stephano that's brought his A game. He's had a few interesting matches so far, but can't quite say for sure which one we're going to see.
Maynard is talking him up. He, I guess, was watching Stephano play a couple of these matches. He had a close one against True, and he was saying he looks like his old self. Now, to be fair, Maynard did watch most of Stephano's matches from Australia in, I think, 16 FPS, so it's a little bit hard for him to tell. But the good news is that Stephano is posting up good results. He looks good. He's going to need it because of the many underrated and players that people like Rotterdam have been talking about for a while, where they're like, this guy can really do it. Lillekanen's he falls into that category. He's been a top European player for a while now. Doesn't have the results to really stake that claim, but he's of the caliber of being able to do that.
And he's an annoying opponent, I think, for Stephano. Now, I do have faith in Ilias, don't get me wrong. He's definitely been playing well and he's looking good, and I had a funny conversation with him yesterday. But Lillekanin is the type of kind of annoying opponent because nobody really plays like Lillekanin. He has like a lot of unique mech builds.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he is going to do it, but more often than not, you will see that. And it's important for Stephano that he's able to exploit some weaknesses in that, because the last thing you ever want to do is play 25-minute plus games against Terrans who do that all the time, because you will end up losing. They get setups with planetaries, ravens. So this is a dangerous match for Stephano. But I spoke with him a little bit yesterday and he said, Kevin, he's like, I am tired of losing. They used to respect me when it came to tournaments like this, and now they treat me like I'm a joke. He's like, it's time to become a legend again, so let's see.
Apparently he just decided that he wants to be legendary again. You guys can vote for which legend you think is going to win in the chat. Lillekanin, I have to agree with your sentiment. He is a player that will do the ridiculous cheese. I don't think anything that Uthermal does is like out of the page for him. But Lillekanin's like a bit more on like the extreme end of some of that other stuff. Like if he goes mech, like it could be really weird, but he will do pretty much anything. And I guess that kind of plays into the annoying people to go up against.
I mean, and this right here shows me the beauty of WCS. Like, Stephano is that retired pro gamer. He's won almost $300,000, and he's going up against a guy who has won just over $3,000. But what's so cool about WCS is, what if this is the tournament where Lillekanin just kind of catches fire, and all of a sudden that doesn't seem so relevant?
I feel like if we compare Stephano's career to Rocky, we're kind of in Rocky 4 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he still has it, but he definitely has to prove it a little bit. But I think he's on the comeback trail. I really think we're going to see great things of Stephano. Like, normally I'd be worried if Stephano was the type of Zerg that would play incredibly, one-dimensional. But Stephano's actually kind of a greedy Zerg, which I think plays quite well for him, going up against somebody like Lillekanin, who obviously will try to make the game drag out. But Stephano's not the type of silly Zerg that's like, all right, I've got 52 drones, let's try to win the game. Right. If that doesn't work, he's in a world of trouble. Stephano will actually comfortably go up to 4 bases, sit back as well. So I think that Ilias can get the job done here. And I'm excited, man, because that next group stage, we were looking at a couple of the groups already. Group stage number 3, obviously all the players that qualified through Challenger will be joining us. Think of Neep, Scarlet, Semper, and obviously the Europeans. You've got Nurchill, Cerro as well. So I kind of want to see Stephano go up against some of those names.
The big sluggers are coming up next. This match is ready. We are going to jump into it. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's Stephano versus Lillekanin.
The golden boy of StarCraft, Stephano, an absolute legend in his own right, going up against Lillekanin, a very creative player. I am Pig. Joining me is Muslim, and you're quite good friends with our player on the left there, aren't you, Ben?
I have been a very good friend of his for a very long time, and one thing that was mentioned on the desk, by the way, is the fact that Lillekanin doesn't play a normal Terran. Neither does Stephano a normal Zerg. These guys are quite a clash. Within regards to who do I think's the favorite, I would have said Stephano any day of the week. But the fact that they've already played in this group and it was just a 2-1 edging out of Stephano, you tend to find that players in DreamHack don't like losing and tend to come back. So I'm looking forward to see what will happen in this series.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very special match between these two. It's so crazy, you know, my mind cast, it's way back to WESG earlier this year. We actually saw Stephano come out, everyone was underrating him, and he beat just about everybody there. He won so many matches in such impressive fashion. And, you know, I think he's got that flair. They were saying it up there on the desk where he's annoyed at people saying that he's washed up, that he's just comes to the tournament, you know, to party, play a few games, have a bit of fun. And he has been practicing very, very hard. So let's introduce these players spawning up here in the top right-hand side of Proxima Station, representing Meltdown Esports. It is Stephano.
And spawning in the southwest side as our blue Terran, it is Lillekanin.
Loves playing his team games, actually. Started out getting into the competitive scene as one of those guys who was always at the top of the 2v2 ladder and said, hey, let's play some 1v1 tournaments as well. And that's where, you know, he just was completely... He developed his skills away from the meta, away from the normal builds that people did. Didn't watch many streams at first, and he really developed such a weird creative style. You're going to see him throw out all sorts of crazy aggression, you know, speed banshees, crazy Hellion run-bys, Hellion drops, all the mech things.
Pretty much holds the record for the longest game in WCS history, I do believe, in one of the qualifiers lasting for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or in fact, might have been 4, but either way, a long, long time. He likes to deviate with mech builds, weird drop builds, very much a proponent of the mech games. But here, Proxima Station, we have a few things happening quite interesting already. So Stephano chose to take the outer expansion. One of the big reasons for this is you can get your creep going. It also means that the back base for a Zerg, far easier to take with far less risk with creep already spread. Just then, we also saw a drone kind of scouting for some proxy racks. We don't know what happened in the first series, so maybe he was just being safe and careful. Also, maybe he just knows his opponent.
I mean, yeah, we've seen Lillekanin in the past. Lots of proxy barracks plays, transitioning into mech off that, or just trying to win outright with some cheeky all-ins. But this time around, there's going to be that fast expansion into that factory and reactors. So going to be opening up with Hellions, and that's a cheeky SCV if I've ever seen one, Ben.
But what... Like, I'm just thinking to myself, what can you achieve with a solo starport in the north of the map? Has to be some sort of Liberator, right?
Proxy Banshee, right?
Proxy Cloak Banshee, Proxy Liberator.
Banshee, but Liberator on this map makes sense. You know, it is Proxima range Liberators is a possibility as well, right?
And I mean, it's a build that went out of fashion for a while, but he got the Marine out early, so he's kind of denied scouting, so you can't even get into that base of Lillekanin. Stephano, he's opting for a very, very normal build thus far. He's getting his third base very early, and he can do that given that he took the more aggressive outside location for his natural. And as far as the game goes for the next few minutes, he's not going to be able to get any information whatsoever. So he's the one in the dark here.
couple of Hellions are going to be rallying out to get a bit of map control, put on some very light pressure at the front, and that is interesting. This is really cool, actually. So this is going to be like the fastest possible Hellion drop, and you can follow that up with Liberators, which is so fantastic on this map because there's so much dead space, and even the piece of high ground above the front base if the Zerg doesn't have an Overlord nearby to spot it. Lots of areas where you can hit with multi-prong. So you think about this map, you think there's no way in on the ground, just one frontal path. You start dropping, you start bringing in Liberators, suddenly the Terran can attack from any angle.
One thing I do love about this, though, the fact that he's going for this Hellion drop makes a lot of sense as a Terran because there's only one way into all three of those bases. So the fact that he's saying to himself, hey, I'm going to get a medevac and I'm going to go around that entirely. But look at Stephano, already very repaired. And even though there was only one entrance into these three bases, he fought ahead. He got these 10 lings, he's got these queens, and Lillekanin's given away the first stage of his aggressive build. And Stephano's still producing queens. How many does he have out at this moment in time? Well, I'd say enough to defend. And the fact that he's making spores as well, 5 queens, a 6th one in production, very good hold by Stephano thus far.
Yeah, Lillekanin definitely wants to pick off a few drones here, but look at this. Stephano is always so prepared, rotating those Zerglings. He knows there is a lot of angles that Hellion drop can come in from.
Second and third factory going down for Lillekanin. But, these Hellions do get a nice shot off on these lings. But again, if you're sorting out the Hellions and making sure that you don't take any drone losses, that's exactly what you want as a Zerg player. Right now, his economy is much better. He has a Spore Crawler ready to reposition in both the natural and the main. Even the Queen's coming along too.
Good response from Stephano. That is very well done. You know, this can spiral out of control really fast, but it transfused. And that Queen survives with just a couple of hit points. Does come back in with the redrop. Is going to get 3 or 4 drones. Does save 3 of those Hellions. Lillekanin controlling this well, but Stephano's defense has not left many openings, and he's already rushing up into those 1-1 upgrades. If he can stop the next Liberator, the next couple of Hellions, he's going to be in a great position.
Now, he's still producing Liberators, and he's going for mech at this point in time. Has Stephano scouted any of this? The fact that they have played a series, he probably knows more about our opponent than we do, and what is being shown there, very, very little. And the 4th CC going up here too, very, very crazy. Upon seeing the second Liberator, he has to know that that was a lot of gas going into this harass, which you tend to kind of make up for that by going pure Hellion, because if you went for Bio, your upgrades would be so late in which you can't keep up, your stim would be delayed, all those reactors would be delayed, far easier to transition into mech. So maybe he's already thinking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already got 1-1 range upgrades on the way. So Stephano wants to go for that Roach tech this game. Definitely doesn't want to do that. This Liberator.
James Bond drone.
Oh, the Hellions do not want to let that hatchery go down. They will manage to deny it, but really, he'd love to get a bit more done than this. And is that a 6-minute cloak starting up on that Starport?
I mean, you did call it that it was going to be propped. In fact,
I didn't think it would happen this late,
We just called everything that could possibly come out of that Starport, and eventually we were all right. But anyway, so we see the upgrades coming in for Stephano. Already opting for Roach upgrades here. I like that for Stephano. Given that Roach Ravager is pretty good to get map control, trying to deny a 4th base against a mech player is very, very worthwhile. The fact that there is a 4th CC already on the map, but drone-wise, he's looking good. He's still producing drones. These Liberators continually getting kills, but nice, quick pull away from Stephano.
Yeah, I mean, these Liberators, they're looking for the damage, and this is something which can spiral out of control so quickly. And really, though, Stephano, he's been known for his skill in terms of always staring at the minimap and always being able to select and control things manually. When it comes to defending these pressures, he is really one of the absolute best players. And so far, he has not left a single opening. You can see he is so focused on positioning those queens because he's recognized that Lillekanin's build really wants to find damage. And he's just saying, if I shut that down while droning up, if I get my 2-2 upgrades at a nice time, if I go straight up to Hive and get Vipers with my Roach Hydra, there is no way Lillekanin can combat this. So he's just doing a fantastic job so far.
I really love the fact that you bring up the fact that Stephano's playstyle is to continually look at the minimap. And there was a tournament quite some time ago where they used heat sensors to check where the players look. 95% of where Stephano looked the whole game was at the minimap. It's just the way that he plays. So with regards to Lillekanin choosing to go for this multi-pronged harass style against a player that is very notorious for continually looking at the minimap and being very prepared for that kind of harass, maybe he didn't do quite as much research on his opponent as he should have.
You know, it's tricky. Sometimes this is just the style which you are the best at, and if your opponent happens to be good against it, well, you say, well, that's my thing. That's what I'm good at. I can't just choose to do something else.
Ooh, this Queen, though.
Going to be a bit of an annoyance. This Liberator just staying alive. Very patient play.
Wow, they popped out all of a sudden. And
Nice
getting two
early.
upgrades.
Yeah, oh, this is just perfect. Just Roach Hydra Viper, you know, it's kind of like that one-size-fits-all answer to mech before they get up the perfect army with like Vikings and Ravens and everything as well. So I really like this play from Stephano. I think it's the simple answer to mech, not overcomplicating things with Swarm Hosts or Broodlords or anything like that. Just going to be going Roach Hydra Viper, and that's going to be a great way to finish this off.
And you know, the Banshees that Lillekanin's continually making, they're actually quite good against the Swarm Host if the game does go that way later on. And I mean, the way that he's teching up, he's got his 4th CC, 5th CC going down. He would have easily been able to tech into that speed Banshee kind of play. And it is quite a decent answer to Swarm Host, getting those Banshees out. But also, you do force anti-air. And Hydras, alone standing against mech, they're not that good. But upon seeing this hive almost completed with the Vipers and such that are capable of being made, this is... Oh,
nice pickup.
nice pickup, but also a tad careless by Lillekanin.
Yeah.
He has to be very careful, but so much going on around the map here. He's trying to drop that north location with the starport still producing stuff up there. Turrets going down. Really good upgrades by our mech player as well, and he's actually secured himself a gold base here.
This is really interesting, right, Ben? Because this is not going to be a normal mech game. Normally, the mech player looks for that one big push before Hive says, I'm on 4 bases, I'm not really going to rush a 5th. But we are going to see Lillekanin taking a fast 5th, taking a fast 6th, and he's actually going to be able to sacrifice a base here or there. He's going to be able to give up ground and still have a strong economy, and already extra starports going down. So if Stephano gets a little bit lazy here, if he doesn't start finding damage and ways to pick apart this mech army, Lillekanin could spiral out of control. Look at that work account. And another Banshee going down. Lillekanin a little bit careless in this macro stage, but 85 SCV economy, that is ridiculous.
One of the beautiful things for Zerg against mech is the fact that whatever army is made, whatever armies engage, Zerg can usually reinforce and replenish themselves much easier than a mech player. But the fact that Lillekanin has roughly 5 factories on the field, I dare say he might add more production facilities too, but 3 starports as well. He's building up a bank here. And look how close these 4th locations are between them in the middle. This is literally across the pond. This is our dead man's land right here.
Yeah.
Not much between them whatsoever.
Once that creep disappears, it's going to be really just so easy for Lillekanin to push over there. But Stephano, he's maxed out. Both players are hitting max around the same time. We've got 3 Vipers with energy out. Is it going to be Blinding Clouds or Abduct? Stephano looking for something, but oh no, not watching his Vipers. They are so expensive, and 2 Vipers will go down. The 3rd one almost falls as well. Big mistake there from Stephano, but Stephano does spot that Raven coming out, is aware of the haphazard air transition coming out of Lillekanin.
Did you see that turret protecting that starport over there? Like, that was the most oddly placed turret in the world. Like, I wonder what the goal of it was, but maybe if it could have caught any sort of air unit flying across there very randomly. But Stephano, he's now getting some map presence. He's got his little Roach army, Hydra army. These Roaches don't even have Roach speed, by the way, by the looks of it. So maybe he's just planning on switching those to Ravagers eventually.
This is really funny. The +2 carapace here is actually stopping the Banshee from 2-shotting the drones, which is making it a little bit frustrating for Lillekanin to get the damage done that he wants, but still picking away at the edges is very important. Look at this, Hellion run by. Wow, 11 drone kills in total going down there. Gonna get some lava as well. This is really nice, using that mobility, because Lillekanin, he's just got an insane economy, and if he can keep picking away at Stephano's work account, adding to his own composition, improving those upgrades, then this can work out very well for our blue Terran player.
I've got a feel, though, for Stephano losing drones at this point in time when you have a 3K plus mineral bank and that much gas, you're not even going to be sad about losing those drones. Those are just drones that you would have probably turned into spore crawlers at some point or other in this kind of matchup, right?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, as the game drags on, he might want a bit more of a bank before he sacrifices them. Like, I think up to here is fine, but if he loses another 10, then I think it starts to get really annoying, and he will have to replace them. But for now, both players looking neck and neck. I'm a bit worried for Stephano, because I feel like he had a window to start picking off units with those Vipers, and he's kind of missed it now, and he's letting Lillekanin kind of get everything he wants. I feel like Zerg is powerful against mech because there's this whole period before the Terran reaches that ultimate late game where you can do damage to them. And by no means is Lillekanin just massively favored now, but his army is improving. Ravens are coming out with all those upgrades. He's got Vikings in the air. Suddenly, how does Stephano choose to fight?
Oh, he may have found his spot here. There aren't really, in fact, there are a few tanks in the south. Thors do get pulled, so taking out those big juicy Thors, what's he going to replace them with? I guess Ravens?
Very nice. The Ducks there. Does take out a few tanks as well. The Hellions are very dangerous, though. Those Hydras quite exposed.
He has a lot. a lot of Hydras, a lot of Queens, and he's just going to replenish on what? Broodlords at this point, would you imagine?
Yeah, he's got 7 Corruptors, and the Great Aspire is on the way. He did kind of delay that a little bit, didn't rush towards it, but it is now finished. So no doubt we will be seeing Broodlords as the next addition. And of course, we've got melee upgrades. We've got Adrenal Glands. We probably will see an Ultra Cavern at some point. Stephano's just going to open up the entire tech tree and look at how much pressure he is applying passively through creep spread. He can see the entire map. The Hellion run by does come down the right-hand side, but Spine Crawlers are ready for it.
I tell you what, these Spine Crawlers are absolutely beautiful by Stephano. He even has them in his natural to like kind of get little chip damage on the way. And look, pulling the drones away here. He's not too bothered about losing these, I'd imagine. And yeah, these Spine Crawlers buy him enough time that only 2 drones are down for 4 Hellions. So really good trade by Stephano here. One thing though, still being very persistent with this creep spread, he has eyes on the whole map. I'm very surprised that Stephano let Lillekanin get this 5th base though. But I guess that's to Lillekanin's credit. The fact that he managed to get it up despite Stephano having seemingly map control here.
Yeah, Stephano's army, you know, it's quite immobile. It's not the fastest moving, and there's a lot of static defense supporting, but it looks like Stephano wants to split up. He wants to hit the left and the middle at the same time.
Oh.
The wall of missile turrets with siege tanks behind it is very scary though.
I tell you what, this must be frustrating as a Zerg player. You can't really engage any point without trading sort of cost inefficiently here. And these tanks, they're decently placed. Committing here against the PF as well. These are nice pulls though, taking out those tanks whenever you can. But that was a very, very cost-efficient trade for Lillekanin.
Yeah, he needs a few more of those as this goes on. You can see in their banks, because the Terran army is so much more expensive as they go up to these things like Ravens, whilst the Zerg's still building things like Roaches and Hydras and Corruptors, these much more basic units, the Zerg does sit on a much bigger bank. So it really is about the Terran just locking everything down, trying to find that perfect defense and really slowly crawling across the map. And the next mission for Lillekanin is going to be pushing out to that middle base, which is kind of above his 3rd and 4th. But for now, Stephano is all over the map and he's pushing in the center. He's looking for some more units here. Does clean up a few turrets, but that siege tank fire being so frustrating. Of course, the transfuse on the Queens is kind of his answer to the efficiency, though.
Yeah, and these lines of missile turrets, while you may think they're not so effective, it means the Vipers can't fly in. Or they have to gas cloud the missile turrets, meaning that they won't be able to have enough gas to gas cloud all those siege tanks instead. So they're very, very efficient here. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes for them abducts here. Or
this is actually a great defensive position for Lillekanin. Huge Seeker missiles landing all over the Hydras and Queens, and a lot of Stephano's army falls. Lillekanin's supply remaining almost entirely intact. And Stephano, he's going to need to find better engagements than that one if he wants to make this work.
I almost feel that this game's slipping out of Stephano's hands the longer it goes on. It feels that Lillekanin is very, very comfortable. This is the kind of game that he wants to play. Slow, methodical, and letting his opponent kind of lose patience and attack into him. Yes, Stephano's mining like a madman. And if he gets this 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock base, it's no longer a split map scenario. He's the one with the advantage. He's mining more and will have mined more than his opponent. But he has to trade fairly efficiently. Maybe not necessarily 50 to 50, but like, you know what I mean? 45 to 55.
You have to be more efficient. It's like, yeah, you're gonna mine out a little bit more, but realistically, you're spending a lot of gas on these units. Seeker missiles force the retreat again. I think he does have those recalibrated explosives upgrades, which of course means you need to turn around instantly when those Seeker missiles go down, or you will have them launch. But what I'm really excited to see here is Lillekanin is going to the ultimate level of mech. He is upgrading Yamato Cannon, preparing for the Battlecruiser switch. And this is the ultimate way of winning the late game. What is that missile turret doing in that basement?
Hey, I made a missile turret for your base that you're going to be making here. But, I mean, at least it's scouted out his 12 o'clock base. But yeah, you're totally right. One weakness of what Lillekanin's doing, though, I'm really surprised, and hopefully we see it this game, because burrowed infestors with fungals, that is one of the ways to really wear down on this army. Even if you don't necessarily kill the Ravens, that is a lot of repair costs that will go into them. Repairing each Raven up from one fungal alone actually costs quite a considerable amount. And the fact that those kind of things can not just guarantee you, you know, war of attrition, but it can technically guarantee you a win if you land the big money fungal that you can continually repeatedly fungal. And with the addition of Ravagers as well, that can really win you games.
Yeah, it's something which Stephano has not invested in yet, but he has a lot of Vipers in the air.
This
he wants
is good.
to use these abducts. Very nicely done. There is a Seeker missile going down, though, and those missile turrets starting to do some good damage. Lots of Seeker missiles landing. The mech army, though, took a while to reposition. Lillekanin a bit out of the way there. Is frying a couple of those Hydralisks. A pretty even trade for both players there.
You see how this army has to continually clump up as it attacks into Stephano, though. Like, Stephano initiates, he gets the first few abducts, he needs to back off right there and then. That is a cost-efficient trade. You're going to catch your opponent out of position because you've technically got 3 points where you can attack, which is any one of those 3 bases. But the fact that he's staying so long, and then that's really when the siege tanks kick in and these Seeker missiles are going off. No, you need to get out of there. But if he does want his opponent to trade, that's when he needs to get the fungals going. Lillekanin, though, did a really good job of taking out this 12 o'clock base. He has cleared up the creep with just a small amount. And here we have some Liberator harass in the latter stages of the game, which... Oh, is that with Liberator range as well? Or is...
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got just about every upgrade at this point. So yes, he does have that advanced ballistics there. The creep spread going into every corner of the map right now. Stephano building spore crawlers in the middle of the map as well. He wants to deny this base, and this is what Stephano said. He said, look, I can't really find the efficient angle down the middle, but I am going to make an advantage on you, take an attack when you move out to take that 5th base. And now Lillekanin is a little bit in struggle street. He's starting to sacrifice SCVs, but he needs this 5th base up. And I really wish he had managed to take this one in the center, just north of our position. But he hasn't been able to secure that because of the creep spread. And now Stephano is just saying, hey, I dare you, move out, try and take that base.
Oh, these were some brave Hydralisks. They do get onto creep, meaning Seeker missiles won't be able to go through their full duration and actually blow up those Hydras. So nice getaway by Stephano. Did deny that 12 o'clock, and we do see chitinous plating being upgraded for our Ultralisk. So this is as late game a TVZ as you will ever see, featuring mech of all things. And what a weird addition too. Is that 4 Banshees at a time with +3 weapon upgrades? So yes, we're going to see speed Banshees on the map. That's a nice addition.
I like that as harassment, but I almost wish it'd just go straight for the BCs for that Yamato cannon efficiency. But that is a big supply sink, of course. Here we go. We see the players rotating. A Thor on the right-hand side. Going to start harassing that base. It will get taken out as those Hydras pull back in on it. Changeling's going in for the spotting, and Stephano says, it's time. Runs on in there and starts abducting these siege tanks on the left. Those Hydras clear out those 3 siege tanks, but they do have to fall back after taking a lot of splash damage. But here we go. Stephano hitting the right-hand side at the same time is going to take out these siege tanks. Those Ravens throwing down the PDDs and auto turrets just a little bit late there. And nice cleanup from Stephano, continuing to deny this base by out-positioning the slow mech army.
This is really nice play by Stephano. The fact that he's managed to split up his army a little bit and taken advantage, as you said, of mech being slow. And while the mech army in its entirety, if it got across the map in one huge bulk against Stephano's army, it would potentially win. But you leave all your bases...
Oh! Parasitic bombs landing on those Ravens and they're clumping. Seeker missile is going to launch on everything, but great splits from Stephano. Minimizes the damage, and a lot of those Ravens fall. And you said it before, Ben, even the ones that haven't fallen, it is going to cost so much gas to repair them back up to health.
Oh dear, this is such a surprise though. And look, the burrow on the drone, so he keeps the drones alive, but the base... I don't think it's longing for this world.
No.
The Corruptor army is moving back, so maybe it might be able to save that hatchery in time. And here, does look like it will, given that they focused on all the static defense. Nice scan by Lillekanin, taking out a few extra drones, but again, Stephano's economy, it's not as if he's sad about this. He just wants to keep on mining out as much of the map, just so Lillekanin can't as possible. And here, losing 3 Banshees, potentially a 4th one, that's a lot of gas going into that.
I mean, Stephano, he's been denying that 5th for so long. He's down in supply right now, but that's not because of a money shortage. He's just waiting to find the right units to build. And right now, Stephano comes in with the caustic spray on the planetary fortress, and that damage ramps up after a few seconds of channeling. And there it goes, that planetary. It needs to lift. It needs to run away. Will it get out of range? No, it won't. The planetary falls and Lillekanin's 5th base is denied once again.
That's always one of the saddest things when you lift a command center, it starts moving away. And the SCVs can't like keep up with moving it. So it's like, even though you want to move away, you're just not repairing it as well as if it was stationary. But yeah, nice move by Stephano. I guess one little inkling there could have been Lillekanin just needed to keep more units over here. Because as you see from the income, he's falling incredibly far behind. And there are bases to mine. It's just Stephano's done such a good job of limiting Lillekanin. And while I really thought this game was getting out of Stephano's control, it's as if It's as if Stephano played us all for a fool. Stephano seems so comfortable at this late stage of the game.
You know, he's a master of engagements. He's a real battle general. He's not one of these guys who sits back and necessarily just wins through defending. Stephano's the guy who, even after it seems like things have gone kind of a bit haywire for him, he'll always find the perfect engagements, and he's really been doing that here. He's been picking apart Lillekanin. Lillekanin has a lot of Thors that are kind of waddling around and not really getting much done. The Ravens being hit by those parasitic bombs before, there's only, actually, I say only, there's actually still a lot of those Ravens left, that is 19, but not too much else supporting them. 5 Vikings, 4 Siege Tanks, 9 Thors, and a couple of Banshees.
Now, one of the big things for... Oh, this is a nice catch, but a nice getaway with the PDDs dropping too. Didn't lose half as many Ravens as I thought he could have. And
ooh,
wow,
very nice
Lillekanin.
harass.
Yeah, these Banshees come back into great effect, and yet again, taken out a base. While, no, you're right, it doesn't mean the end of the world for Stephano, given that his bank is so huge, but it's a nuisance. This is going to keep getting at Stephano. And the fact that Lillekanin can now potentially think about taking that bottom right base as his future base, and then maybe the one in the, like, slightly north of the 12 o'clock, those are 3 bases that are very, very, very high potential for Lillekanin to take, because there's no way he can work his way into the top left of the map now.
I really think just to the where Stephano is right now is the danger zone, and he's got Infestors there ready to fungal as well. He's abducting some Thors into these Broodlords and Queens. Stephano wants to bait those Ravens forward, and he wants to land the fungal on them. He's taking your advice, Ben. You said this is maybe a weakness of this style. The Infestors and Vipers are looking for it. A parasitic bomb goes down. Seeker missiles going out on the entire Zerg army, but even more parasitic bombs landing as well. The splits are good from Stephano. He loses a few Vipers and Broodlords, but he has done massive damage to those Ravens in return.
You know what's incredible? He hasn't used the fungal once even, but again, he's not really losing minerals. I'm looking at his minerals and gas. They're never really going down. He's still got 40 supply to use on aggressive units, battle units, but he's just playing it calm. He's thinking, what do I make in this situation? And again, this isn't a situation that you can rely on pure instinct, because how often do you play in this sort of area? So this is one of the first times that you're going to see pro gamers think on the fly rather than just like acting on pure instinct here.
Exactly,
So the fact that he's added these fungals so late into the game, this isn't because this is practice. This is because he's thought this is the right thing to do at this time.
How often do you see those 6 or 7 Queens supporting the army out of energy? Not very often, but it has happened here. The Seeker missiles starting to wear down Stephano's energy bank, but Stephano's been so cost efficient. Guys, I think Artosis lied to us when he said mech is the cost-efficient composition, because right now, Stephano is the one who is taking all of the better engagements. Seeker missiles desperately looking for those hits. A lot of Hydralisks are going to go down. The Corruptors have to fall back in the left flank. More and more Seeker missiles go out. He's seeking his own Raven as well there.
Or was that neural that we missed somewhere?
I don't think he could have neuraled something that deep, sure.
I don't think he could have. Or could he have Seeker missiled something so in his army? I'm not even sure what's going on right now. But Stephano needs to make something. 130 supply.
Wow.
Has he run out of lava? Is that what's happening here?
I think Stephano, like you said before, is really just taking his time. But he is actually down to only 10 lava right now. It looks like he has completely been skipping injects. So that is a bit dangerous. He spent all his lava on Zerglings. Not the most important unit to be building right now. We got Ravens. Infestors land the fungal over there on the left-hand side. Parasitic bomb fungal combo takes out 5 or 6 Ravens. A fantastic pickup there for Stephano.
And that's exactly what he needed. He knows he's been trading kind of cost inefficiently in these last few trades, I suppose, around the map. But these little things, he's starting to wear down Lillekanin, and he has to know there is so much gas going into that. Every bit of damage that he does where Lillekanin has to repair, that is a win in Stephano's book. Even if he doesn't necessarily take out units right there and then, he has to force damage onto those units. They do not regenerate without being repaired. And fungal. Fungal. Okay, this is great for Stephano. He's starting to learn. We're seeing this man learn as this game's going on. He's learning how to beat mech, which is great to see.
Using energy to kill units. Of course, energy is going to regenerate. Those resources to use those units will not. Lillekanin is basically on one-base mining right now with his 5th down in the center. And he's not making any leeway in the center. A lot of Seeker missiles going to go out, but the fungal on the return, those Broodlords do get blasted into oblivion. Double parasitic bomb in the center of the Ravens, though. The splash damage is massive. Pretty good splits from Lillekanin, making the best of a bad situation. but all of this damage is just getting out of control right now.
This is like a crazy action movie. Look at these fungals landing, Zerglings frying left, right, and center. Lillekanin still with a big supply. 181 against 148, but Stephano's everywhere.
Yeah.
And these fungals...
Oh, he's low on energy right now, Ben. Is he going to be able to hang on to this planetary? I mean, there's not much left here. I guess he doesn't really care too much if this goes down.
It's the gas, though, right? If there's a lot of gas on those Vespene guys are still going down, he needs it. These Ravens trying to do what damage they can, going to trade with spores, but again, not really the best trade. Stephano doesn't, in fact, I was going to say he doesn't need minerals, but his mineral count is definitely plummeted.
Look at that bank. He's actually, these Zerglings have not been working out for him, and he's down about 2,000 resources in the resources lost right now. He's now spending it on 7 Ultralisks all at once. And does Lillekanin have the answer for those Ultras? He's got 7 Thors and 6 Siege Tanks. Oh, a Thor gets caught on the left-hand side of the map. There was another great fungal there and abduct. Does catch a Thor. And these pickoffs, that is where Stephano is finding his efficiency.
I believe Stephano's focusing on the wrong part of the map, though. Of course, he wants to establish these northern bases, but what Lillekanin's real goal is here, he wants to start taking over the bottom right side of the map. That's where his most flourishing base is at this point in time. This is great with the Broodlords, by the way, just trading efficiently. What he should do, though, is have some Infestors burrowed there, kind of below the Broodlords, ready to catch.
Ultra's coming in on the right-hand side at the same time. He's trying to just break his way into this natural. All of Lillekanin's forces are very split.
You see these Infestors, these are the scary Infestors. Oh!
Secret Missile on the Hellion there is going to be using his own spells against him. Abducts on the Thors. Stephano here with this meaty army picking away. Somehow Lillekanin is still up 30 army supply, but most of it's in Ravens. They're very low on energy. The fungal parasitic bomb combo lands. The Ravens are falling apart here. A lot of Lillekanin's army is not helping. It's down in the bottom right-hand side of the map. It's counterattacked and taken out of base. And that is not helping up here.
He's taken out absolutely all of the Ravens. The supply is 140 apiece here. But the difference is Stephano can reinforce entirely. He demolished that left side of the map. And while economically doesn't mean that much for Lillekanin, the fact that he lost all those units, that's the real clincher here. And look at Stephano, 7 drones, 9 Corruptors at a time. And this is an army that you won't beat anytime soon. It is getting stronger by the minute. And the fact that there are so many Infestors there with a good amount of energy, not looking good for Lillekanin at this point in time, despite the supplies even being in his favor.
Whoa, continuing with the Infested Terrans here. Nice Secret Missiles will be going down there. Lillekanin struggling to hang on to his production right now. There's not a lot of anti-Thor. A Neural on the Thor. The Thor is actually blasting this Ravens. You can barely see it because it's just underneath those Ravens guys. But a lot of Ravens actually falling to that Thor. It takes out 3 Thors there. And it looks like Stephano about to crack his way into the production. Lillekanin's army has just been sitting idle on the right-hand side of the map. He's trying to micro so fiercely at home. His army has just been chilling this entire time. Finally, he grabs it and starts to go in, but he's attacking one of Stephano's unimportant empty bases. And Stephano has broken his way into the production. And I'm sure you know as a Terran player, Ben, this is the worst situation. Once the Zerg's on top of your production, it is pretty much all over.
I tell you what, there's 2 ways to win versus Mech. 1, the war of attrition. 2, you just get on top of the production. And the Battlemaster Stephano plowed his way through Lillekanin's army. Doesn't even care about those bases on the right side. As we said, Stephano's goal there was taking the top left side of the map, which is his new goal here. The right side of the map, forfeit it. Look at the map of creep. There are so many tumors on this map, and here he's just demolishing 188 supply against the dwindling supply of Lillekanin, and even Stephano's reinforcements at this point. He's going to toy around, not even take engagements against this army until he knows he can smash it. Great first game of the series, and here a lot of Thors, but way more Ultralisks, and he's just getting ready to pounce.
Stephano's just going to group it all up and jump on at the right time. Those drones, man. Oh, wow. Hopefully the Hellions... Oh, gosh. This is a Hellion dream right here. They're just going to burn up so many of these drones. 7 already going down. Stephano taking his time. Of course, Ben, I really think you were spot on there with your analysis. You said Stephano is focusing on not necessarily the correct side of the map. And you know what? If Lillekanin was really clever, I think he would have just said, abandon that base, move and consolidate his forces on the bottom right or in the center of the map. He was spread just a little bit too thin, and Stephano, it turned out to be the right opening because Lillekanin tried to defend that far left base and was just spread out a little bit too much.
It's so hard to make these calls though, right? Like how do you know? Like how often are you in this situation? But one of the big worries for Ethereum is, do I lose my production if I give up this side of the map? And the answer would be yes, but what would be wrong in a game like this where you have a very, very high supply and you know your opponent's trading into you inefficiently? Lift it all up. Yes, replace the depots, and if not, like if you had enough orbitals to keep making extra supply, so it didn't even cost you anything, that'd be really good.
Yeah.
And technically, in terms of a split map scenario, if he just took this bottom right, it would have been totally split down the middle.
And I mean, even if he keeps his natural and just abandons the fourth on the very far left, you can still keep your production and even not even have that hassle. Of course, at this point, Lillekanin trying desperately to rebuild here, but with the Broodlords, Ultras, and Infestors sieging in, it looks like Stephano is just moments away from clinching this.
That is such a hard army to control, but when you do it as masterfully as Stephano's doing right now, sucking that whole army in, GG is called. What a first game of this series, and Stephano looking unfazed as ever.
Get over here, is what he says with those Vipers. Stephano just picking away that army, playing a very smart style, and you've got to just take your hat off to his doggedness with that creep spread constantly going around the map. His defense in the early game, just not letting the Liberator, the Hellion drop do any damage.
His defense was impregnable, and I mean, Lillekanin did a very good job, and he was very ballsy. The fact that he took, in fact, he went up to 5 base mech, and he did it pretty much unopposed.
And he did that without getting damage done, which is very rare. And I do think Stephano did miss an opportunity to get some damage done a little bit early, deny the 5th base originally. However, once he got into that late game, Stephano was so patient, and really, it was that movement, right? He would clear up some turrets for a few Hydras. He'd say, it's not a good fight, let's back off. And he kept rotating. And then the moment he would see an exposed Thor or a few tanks, he'd grab them into his army, kill them, pull back. But he'd never let Lillekanin consolidate his defenses. When he'd always split him up, make sure he was spread out, and only then take little skirmishes, small trades.
Do you know what I find really interesting about this particular matchup here, like between the mech player and the Zerg player? Most Zerg players kind of go against mech, and they have the mindset, if it gets to late game, it just trades inefficiently anyway.
Yeah.
But because they know how hard it is to get to the late game, they choose to kill them beforehand anyway. So this is just having a totally different approach to that. Stephano said to himself, I'm not going to kill him. I just know I have an advantage if everything goes my way and if I play it correctly in the late game. But you could be seeing a totally different scenario against a mech player. This is just the way that it turned out, given the route that Stephano chose to deal with it.
And what a fascinating way for Proxima to open up there, of course. That is that big macro map where it jumps up to 4 bases, but Stephano taking advantage of the fact that once you go to 5 bases plus, you have to spread out a whole lot more. We think of that as the turtle map. We think of it as easy to defend. But we saw there, Stephano said, hey, once you try to take your 5th and 6th base, you are wide open. I'm going to find my way in there. Lillekanin, though, showing some very strong macro mech play, even after the openings didn't go his way.
And it was incredibly ballsy by Lillekanin to take the 4th as his gold as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a lot of situations, that's when the Zerg kind of chooses to overrun you with, like, let's say 200 against 150 supply. Yes, inefficiently, but he's taking like 5th and 6th behind this, and he does hold to the 4th base. Lillekanin did it. And also, he managed to build up a rather interesting army very early on. Like, he got a few Thors, tanks, but he went very quickly into Raven, started stocking up that energy, which it's not very often that you go against a guy that actually knows how to use Ravens. He was throwing down the PDDs very well. He was eliminating bases with the turrets, the new 10-second lasting time as well, used to full effect in that game. But yeah, I have to give him credit because he did something that I haven't really seen players manage to do in a long time, which is get up to a 5-base situation with mech. One of the big things, though, you have to work with your strengths, not your weaknesses. If you mine out a base, bam, you leave it, you know? If you're an oil rig guy, you don't keep on, like, sticking around your crew on the, like, abandoned oil rig. No, you move to a new place. Like, that's exactly what Lillekanin didn't do. Yes, he had gases, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't much left. He needed to go for those new valuable locations in the bottom right, and eventually he was spread too thin.
What a contrast between these two players' careers. Of course, Stephano, really one of the most talented players in StarCraft, and whenever he does come back into training hard for a tournament, we do see his skills skyrocket so fast. One of the original players who, back in the early days of StarCraft 2, was one of the first ones to really use focused practice in his own routine. You know, he had that reputation as being a bit of a bad boy who didn't really do much practice once he got a lot of success in tournaments. But what people forget is that when he was a young up-and-coming player, he was, you know, a little bit more reserved, and he was definitely a guy who sat there for a week just spreading creep. He sat there for a week just working on his injects and practicing his mechanics and kind of focusing on those different parts of the game. And we've seen him evolve into this very, you know, outgoing personality over the years, but I think he's still got that just intelligent approach to working on his fundamentals in the game, which makes him such a strong Zerg player.
I love this And it is a little bit of a myth that Stephano was just like, he didn't practice at all. I remember when he was telling everybody they didn't practice, and he has had times where he can party for a week solid. Then he goes to a tournament like WCS Europe and he won, and it was true. He just partied for that whole week straight. I was on the flight with him to Sweden, actually, which is where he actually did win. And yeah, for the past 4 days, just partied absolutely straight. And then he ends up winning WCS Europe, one of the most prolific tournaments of our time. But I remember going through this period, even though he said he didn't practice much, I remember waking up in the EG house, I'd get up, he was already playing.
Yeah.
And while this didn't mean like that much, you know, people practice at different times, by the time I went to bed, he was still grinding. I'd get up the next morning, he'd be up before me, he'd be up later than me. This guy, he is a hard worker. Yes, incredibly gifted. Yes, incredibly talented. And no doubt about it, smart as they come. But when he wants to work hard, he will work hard.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's got it all, man. He really does.
The whole package, Zerg, and his earnings speak for it. You know, his many, many tournament wins, and really just a player who draws in the fans and the supporters in droves because he is so fascinating to watch. He, you know, gets up in that interview, he's so flippant, but he's just got so much talent to back it up.
That goes to show his smarts as well. And I mean, I feel kind of bad just like giving Stephano all this credit, because if he ever watches his VOD, he's just going to like smile at me a bit, like know how much I like him. But the fact that he came up with all these styles way before anybody else did. For example, beating top Terrans with Lings only, beating Protosses left, right, and center with like 11-minute, 10-minute Roach maxes way before anybody else. He invented a lot of the styles that Zerg revolve around today within regards to, hey, I'm going to play as greedy as possible to the point where I can just flood you with aggressive units. And it's like MC for Protoss in a way. He instigated the two-base Protoss style. So yeah, he's a grandfather of Zerg, and yet he's so young. So young and so accomplished.
So young and so accomplished. The Battle Zerg representing Meltdown Esports and spawning up here in the top left-hand side. It is Stephano. Launching into game 2 with a 1-0 lead so far. 1 game away from progressing.
And sporting over in the southeast as our blue Terran, currently 0-1 down, it is Lillekanin. By no means looking beat, though.
No,
the fact
not
that
at
their
all.
first series went 2-1 in Stephano's favor, I mean, that game technically could have gone either way for quite some time. We actually felt that Lillekanin was playing a very, very solid game.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does in the rest of the series, though. This is what's exciting about this. Both these players are going to react off each other and learn from each other, because neither one of them play exactly how the race, I don't even want to use the phrase supposed to be, but they use their own style. They definitely are stylistic players. And in this matchup too, this is one that Stephano used to annihilate every Terran in Europe, every Terran in the foreign scene. I remember against Polt, one of the most normal Terrans of our time. They'd have some of the most epic clashes in finals.
Yeah.
And so Stephano, for the longest time, has been so good against the normal. The fact that he's going against somebody that doesn't play normal at all, this is probably the greatest chance that a Terran, and I would say Stephano is the favorite in this matchup against Lillekanin, just in terms of level, but stylistically, this is probably the best chance a Terran would have against Stephano, given the differing of levels.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lillekanin is one of these guys who he understands his way of playing the game very well. He throws so many curveballs. He's always got an opportunity, even against a player who has inspired really, you know, the entire way the Zerg race was played in those early Wings of Liberty days. Even all of the Korean pro gamers back in the early days of StarCraft 2, they will all credit Stephano as being a huge influence on how Zerg is played and how people started to understand the fundamentals of how to use the race's power. Of course, it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It is Ascension to Aya, a map with quite a long rush distance. There are some nifty areas Terran can take advantage of. It's going to be interesting to see how Stephano chooses to expand on this map, because I think that does affect how it plays out quite a lot.
You're very right. One nice thing for this map, though, for Zerg, and as a Zerg player like yourself, spreading creep is phenomenally easy. The land is very flat. If you get a little bit of vision up a ramp, which generally for the first half of the map you don't have to. Creep spread is very, very easy to do. And I did want to open up by saying Lillekanin went for a fairly normal build within regards to the Reaper into the factory. And immediately we see this armory exceptionally early. And given that I don't believe there's a starport in production anywhere to be seen, so the fact that we're going to see Hellbats on their own at the start, That's very surprising.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because this is going to be so early. Now, I've seen versions of this build where you have a couple of Marines first to clear out the Overlords. You join up those Marines, a Medevac, and 4 Hellbats, and that can be very surprising, but to just go straight into the armory this early, it's like, are you going to morph your first 2 Hellions into Hellbats and try and attack the hatchery? I'm not sure what the plan is, but it's definitely going to be kicking up the aggression a notch very early on.
That's one of the massive questions here, because this starport was so... Whoa, +1 that fast? Now, is this just some crazy mech build that you're going to like plan for the late game? We don't see... Okay, so we're going to have a Viking, so that's going to be to deny Overlords, but also to kill Overlords around the map. That tells me that it's going to be a third. There's no plan of an all-in here. But what does the +1 achieve from having it so early?
So we may see a follow-up Cyclone. So Cyclone Hellion timing with +2. Now, I think you can pressure with +1, you can kind of show your hand, but realistically, this build doesn't hit its power point until you've got +2 finished. So you're actually aiming about 5 minutes down the line from here, and you're saying that's the point where I'm going to have 8 Cyclones and, 12 Hellbats or some number of those units with +2. They're going to do massive damage. They're going to be great. And if Stephano maybe is a little bit too greedy against this, he could definitely end up in trouble. The question is, does Lillekanin have the 3rd command center? Yes, he does drop that 3rd CC. So he's going to be aiming for those fast upgrades. He's going to have a strong Hellion Cyclone force, but it's by no means going to be an all-in. It's going to be one of those ones, where you arrive at the Zerg's base and you're like, maybe I just kill you, but usually I just force a lot of units at you. I clear up creep, I rotate around, and I basically just stop you from droning for a long period of time.
Economically, though, we see 49 workers for Stephano and 37 for Lillekanin. Now, within regards to Terran against Zerg, this is totally fine for a Terran. We see that this 3rd base is not droned up by any means, and Stephano, he hasn't really got to scout the main base of Lillekanin either, so what is he against? What is this crazy guy going to throw at you? And right now, that reveals nothing whatsoever. I don't believe he sees the 3rd base. In fact, did he see? No. So he has no idea. In his eyes, this could still be potentially a 2-base crazy all-in. So Stephano, he's got to go with instinct here, gut instinct. What does he feel that his opponent is going to throw at him? If anything at all. And what we see is, no, not anything in the next minute or two, but the fact that we have Cloak Banshees on the way.
Yeah, kind of delayed Cloak Banshees. Again, it's so interesting because playing against Lillekanin, you never are working off tight timings in terms of, oh, the Banshee will hit it exactly this time, because he does things in different orders. He prioritizes different things, and it really can catch a player off guard. We're seeing that Hellbat morph. It is 4 Cyclones and 4 Hellbats with that +1. A lot of Roaches are here ready, though. Yeah, Lillekanin needs to get out of there. He's going to lose 1 Cyclone for free. Great defense by Stephano. He didn't know what was going on, so he said, well, to be safe, I need to build a lot of Roaches here. And he's actually got +1, 1, and Roach speed about to finish, Ben. Is he going to go for a counterattack?
This is what I mean. This +1 so early from Lillekanin, it just gets totally thwarted by the +1 armor of Stephano. This Banshee is going to help a lot with these units being out on the map, by the way. It just means that the Banshee can go uncontested, but this is a lot of Roaches on the way. But also, not is it just +1 armor, it's +1 attack. There's no siege tanks. That Banshee cannot kill these Roaches fast enough.
Oh man, he's gonna have to pull SCVs, and he is doing it, but all of his Hellbats as buffer have already been cleaned up. Those SCVs trying to repair a depot in the middle of the fight, maybe not their best use. There we go, he's gonna have to hug these Roaches. The Cyclones doing a lot of damage, but there's just too many Roaches here. The focus fire from Stephano takes down all 3 Cyclones. The SCV count is falling rapidly. Stephano here with a very crisp, powerful, aggressive build says, you didn't slow me down at all, and now I am just going to roll in with this Roach attack and absolutely cripple your economy.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Lillekanin, despite the very close game in the first game of the series, this one is not looking close at all. Stephano, he leapt on his... In fact, he just leapt on him, man. Like, he didn't even know what the hell was happening. He just built some Roaches, then counterattacked. And, he got very, very fortunate with the build that he chose, but it's because I don't think Lillekanin's was really destined to work out in the first place. And very unfortunate for Lillekanin, but he is tasting a bitter defeat here.
Sometimes if you're not sure what your opponent's doing, they're doing something a bit weird, just go and kill them. It's the age-old saying, and it really is held true here. Stephano with a very crisp economic opening, didn't get slowed down and said, well, I'm not sure what's going on, let's go for this Roach attack. Completely shut down Lillekanin's attack, counterattacked viciously, and now at 65 workers to 22, a game-ending lead for Stephano.
But things aren't normal for no reason. Things are normal because they tend to work out pretty darn well, at least in StarCraft. And the fact here is he's down to 45 supply. He has 24 workers to 65 of Stephano. Stephano, he could take the map if he wanted to, but I don't think he's going to disrespect Lillekanin like that. He's just going to make an army and he's going to go for it. These Banshees, they're going to meet these Hydras. Bam, dead. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, yes, and GG, well played. Stephano moves on out of this group stage, and he's already looked very, very promising. I believe he fell to 1-2 to True.
Yeah, very close match against True.
And, you know, a nice sign of respect there from both players. So he beat Lillekanin in the first series of the day, 2-1. Then he beat him now here very convincingly, 2-0. The first game looked very, very promising from Lillekanin, but unfortunately this build just didn't work out for him, and Stephano pounced on him like a tiger.
Yeah, Lillekanin put up a good showing. We've got to take our hats off to him. He's been around the scene as a long time, a very creative player with some very memorable matches, always bringing out his A game. But Stephano, I mean, when he is working for it, when he's hungry to prove that he is back, he always shows us these great performances, and today has been no exception. He will be progressing through to the round of 32, through to that bracket stage. So let's hear from the man himself. He's over there with Sue, and we'll be hearing from him in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Pig. Congratulations, Ilias. That was a fantastic series. Need to talk about Proxima Station because it was the longest match we've seen today, over 30 minutes, a lot of action going on back and forth. In the end, how were you able to win?
It's a little tricky, I think, especially against a mech who knows when to transition into Ravens and everything. It's hard to know whether you should be attacking and trying to kill him right there, or you should be trying to play the long game, knowing that you have more resources, more creep, more map control, map presence, and you can make him split his army. And I went for this option. I thought it was the safest, at least. I didn't want to go on a kind of all-in and try to defeat him straight away.
Now, of course, with this win, you are moving on to the round of 32. I think a lot of times whenever we see you at an event, we're not sure, you know, what kind of Ilias we're going to get. Yeah. So far, you're looking really great. So in terms of practice, how much practice have you actually been putting in?
A lot. Not the maximum amount I could have put in, but compared to what I usually deliver, it's a lot. And yeah, I was a bit sick of having my name being bashed again and again, tournament after tournament, and I had to come back and finally show who's the boss, right? A little respect, okay? Guys, respect.
Well, you know, a lot lately, especially in Europe, there's so many great Zerg players. You know, people talk about Nerdchio, Laser, Serral lately has been absolutely dominating. So from your perspective, you know, what is your view of all these other players and where you stand amongst them?
I'm a bit split on this situation because I feel proud of it. For me, it's a way to see my legacy into StarCraft in Europe. I started, Zerg was kind of bullshit back then, and I created, I don't know what I created, that's a bit cocky out of me, but I found solutions, and now we can see like Zerg is actually thriving in Europe. And my ZvT is shit, so which brings me to my second point, which is I'm proud of them, but I wish they were not there, let's say.
All right, always a great family show with Stephano. I hope to continue interviewing you. Always a great pleasure speaking with you. So we'll see how he does in the round of 32. But for now, again, let's head back to the studio.
An intense Zerg versus Terran match. The Mecharino builds coming out of Lillekanin were not enough to stop Stephano as he plowed his way in the long game with neural parasites, corruptor spray, infested Terrans, parasitic bombs, everything in control.
Stephano's such a superstar. He has been such a joy to have as someone to watch and have in our community for so long. Gives the best interviews. I'm just an unabashed big fan. He delivered there. That match against Lillekanin went to the point where a lot of people, and we were watching, were like, this is kind of the point of no return. When Terran locks down 5-6 bases like that, has a dozen Ravens or so, it seems to be pretty hopeless for the Zerg. And it was obviously there were mistakes made by Lillekanin, but it was also forced mistakes by Stephano, playing very patiently, taking decisive fights, using the right army composition. It's just really solid play by him, and it's fun. And it's fun too when Sue's like, "Yeah, where do you think you stand?" He's like, "I want respect." You know, he's here to get respect, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, a really cool series. That first game started off a little bit slow, and we were all looking at each other like, oh, this is going to be one of those 30-minute turtle fests. Well, it was over 30 minutes, but pretty much as soon as they had 4 bases, it became really interesting. And I think that Lillekanin played really well. I was actually kind of worried for Stephano heading into that phase of the game, because I feel that Lillekanin would probably have more experience than Stephano. Well, Stephano showed, you may have more experience, but I'm still Stephano. I know what to do. And he did almost everything right. Loved the multitasking. It was just a really solid game by him.
Stephano is, I mean, obviously this is a little bit silly to say, but back in the day, Stephano was the original Turtle Zerg. He was the guy that wanted the game to go mega late.
He was one of the guys that pushed the Swarm host era upon all of us in Heart of the Swarm. But those situations are so tricky, and at least I have to get it off my chest as a Terran. I think it's really easy to get caught off guard, but like the range on the Seeker missile since the patch at the end of last year goes to 19 range. It's very easy to lose a lot of units thinking that you're outside the target area of that Seeker missile. But man, what a match. Our next series is, as you guys can see on the bottom of the screen, we're gonna have Showtime versus Kelazar, some more Terran action. Really, the schedule, I don't know how this happened.
This is stage 3 now, right?
Yep.
I don't know how this happened. Our schedule's worked out. We've pretty much only had really sick matches on stream. It's been awesome.
And this is obviously where things get incredibly fun, because we finally have all the players from Challenger coming in. So Cyril, Scarlet, Neep, and so many more. A couple of the Australians as well. That's going to be fun. We're going to watch Aigis play and stuff. So this is really good. We've got the groups as well. I'm not sure if we are able, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have a graphic soon for it.
Can we bring up Kevin's screen?
No, let's not do that. But
what?
My browser history, Jeff, please.
Oh, you're right.
Safe for work.
But, we're going to take a look at those groups soon, or eventually, but very fun groups. We've got a couple of very Zerg stack groups, but also have a couple of nice mixtures. It's going to be fun, man. All the big names are going to duke it out with each other, and, this is where people will start qualifying for the money.
I'm going to be the Debbie Downer, though. There's some actually sad groups here. There's like 2 or 3 that are all Zerg, and then I think 3 of the 4 Terrans or 3 of the 5. No, 2 groups have 3 out of the 4 are Terran players, and there's only like 8 Terrans in total. That's rough. But hey, we get some awesome StarCraft.
Well, hopefully a few of those Terrans can carve their way through once we get past that stage.
That's the frown upside down. That means that there's a better chance for 1 or 2 Terrans to advance, which is good for the rest of us.
I think out of the 36 players that we have, no, 32, I think 19 of them are Zerg. So obviously we're going to see a lot of using. But hey, we can pick whatever match we want. So that's why we started with Kelazar versus Showtime.
Which is sick.
Let's see how far our Protoss and Terran heroes can make it. We're going to be going to Showtime versus Kelazar after this commercial break.